Hey!
This is JJ and Alex.
I made a name for myself, I told you I won't be denied.
As you wrap up your day, it's time to get your fix of the teams you live for and the sports you love. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome on in. It's another edition of JJ and Alex right here, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Happy Thursday to you. It's Thursday, right?
Checks
It's
calendar.
Thursday.
Yeah,
yes.
it is.
Okay. I was just checking because we have stuff to give away.
Good thing you didn't think it was Saturday and you showed up.
We do Jazz Ticket Tuesdays.
Grateful for that.
We do Win Ticket Wednesdays, and now we're just doing, hey, we got more tickets Thursdays.
You've reached that point that the only way you know what day it is
By what giveaways we have.
is by the giveaways.
1,000%.
Well, whatever it takes.
Well, listen, when I ate a lot more back at, when I was more in tune with the restaurant scene.
Pre-SLCFatLoss.com.
Yeah. Then everything was usually having to deal with deals. Oh, Taco Tuesday. Yeah, I'll be there. Oh, yeah. Free Pizza Friday. Sure, yeah, I'm there. I'll be there. There's no Free Pizza Friday, by the way. It's never free. Nothing is ever free, okay? Don't let anybody tell you otherwise, all right? JJ, welcome to the show, man. Happy Thursday to you. Everything good?
I'm happy to be here. Yeah, everything's great. Yeah, powering through the week.
What do we have high school championship-wise in basketball, man? What are we looking at
Yeah,
here?
we got some title games tonight.
We got title games tonight. Huntsman Center's going to be packed with every classification, men, women, everybody getting involved in it. It's a long day. I love that it's all back at the Huntsman Center, by the way.
It's a good venue.
How classic is it?
for it.
Look, and part of it is because I used to live up in this neighborhood, but to have Highland versus Olympus in the 5A championship, that's freaking cool, man.
Yeah. First of all, we'll talk about that real quick, but I have to give a shout-out to Morgan, new 3A boys champions.
Oh, so they just won.
Congrats. That was last night. And the Canyon View girls won their first 3A championship in 19 years. So
Nice. Look at that.
congratulations to both of those teams.
Morgan needed to have some good things happen. It's
that's
tough.
an athletic program. It's been on hard times, right? Morgan is dominating 3A. They own everything.
They basically sleepwalked through the football season.
I love that community. I mean, I wish I could.
crush.
I'm saying this publicly over there. I wish I could live up there.
No, it's amazing.
Love that
It's
area.
amazing up there, yes.
So I'm jealous of all of you that live in Morgan, and congratulations to your high school
Hey, but
athletic
listen,
programs because they are awesome.
But they want to stay 3A, so they don't want you to move there, all right? They're like, we're going
They
to...
want us to stay out.
It's one of the few places you still go, and they have a grass field. I mean, like,
Right.
that's... You can go out there and play on the grass. And they know it. That's part of their advantage. They'll kick your butt on their own grass.
They will.
All right?
But yeah, the 6A boys is tonight. It's number 1 Harriman and number 2 Davis.
That's good to
The
have 1 and 2.
Darts get a 20-point win over their rival.
I
Layton
can't
to get there.
believe that. I cannot believe it. I thought Layton was going to... I thought it was going to be their year, man. Who knows?
It's tough. The 6A basketball here is pretty good, and to get to the championship game is tough.
When's the 5A championship then?
That's on Friday.
Okay, so that's tomorrow.
Yep.
Man, I love it. See, here's the thing: we used to when I was in high school, and this is in the Seattle area, the Tacoma Dome, which is where they had all of these championships. Same thing with football too. That's where they play the football championships, and the whole place was just turned into multiple basketball courts, and we didn't go to school for 3 days. You know what I mean? Like, that's what we did.
Just go to state.
You went down, you'd go watch state. And,
Same thing in Wyoming. You get on a bus and you go to state.
And your team would maybe lose the first or second day. Didn't matter. You still went to the state championship games. You wanted to see all the basketball.
Why not? Yeah.
And we made a thing out of it, man. It was awesome. So happy for all these high school kids because that's one of those fun moments in high school to be able to watch all
cool
these.
if your school's involved. And on the girls' side, Lone Peak, who's just been dominant for a long period of time, is going to take on Copper Hills tonight up at the Huntsman Center for the girls' 6A state championships. You mentioned the 5A. I'll give them some love, too. Highland and Olympus will play for the boys' title. Bountiful and West for the girls' title.
Oh, and West is undefeated, right?
Yes, they are.
Oh,
and they are
man.
very, very good. 24-0. Bountiful's 23-2. That's going to be a great game.
I love that. I love that because those teams are they in the same region then, right? They have to play each other during the year or no?
No, they're not. They're in different regions, but very, very good.
All right.
Great.
I love it. Okay,
Yeah,
it's that time of the year.
It's that time. It's title week.
Really love it. All right, let's get some things going. We got the show to get into. We have a lot to cover today. We are obviously, like I said, we've got some stuff to give away. We have some Real Salt Lake tickets to give away, right, Alex? Isn't that what we're doing today? Yes, some tickets to Real Salt Lake.
Football is life.
How you feeling today, brother?
Football is not life.
Oh, what happened?
Just because, I've always hated that Costa Rican team. Heredaria.
Heredaria. That sounds like a disease. I got a bad case of
I've always
heredaria.
hated those Costa Ricans, man. I told you this yesterday. I told you they're going to come in and they're going to talk trash like the Costa Ricans do. I have no idea how alive and well the Costa Rican soccer clubs are, but I would assume they're pretty darn good if they're in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. I mean, my goodness, you got to be pretty good to be at that level, right? I mean, like, come on.
There was a little trash talking yesterday. There definitely was.
I love it. And you know what? They came into Salt Lake. By the way, this is not fun weather for them to come to. This is not the elevation stinks.
Pretty nice. I mean, if you're going to come to here and play a game in February,
yeah,
you're not going to complain
is,
about 50-degree
weather.
Right.
You're exactly right. So they did it. But
could have been a lot worse.
So now they can just focus on MLS regular season. That's what I told you they needed to do anyway. It's just like, hey, get this CONCACAF stuff out of here. We don't want to be playing in these high-level tournaments.
Get us excited. Get us juiced up for the game Saturday,
Come
the
on.
home opener.
It's a home opener.
There you go.
And we're giving away free tickets.
Yeah.
We are.
Come on.
We're the home of Real Salt Lake on the radio.
I love it. Let's do it. Hey, G2G Bars brings you this program every day. Awesome protein bar. Give it a shot. Costco, Holiday Oil, Maverick, Associated Foods, and many other places in the refrigerated section. Let's kick off the program with the cut. Let's jump right in right here, and let's get going.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
And, of course, this portion of the program brought to you by Trajan Wealth, TRAJAN Wealth.com. That's TrajanWealth.com for all your trusted local financial needs in retirement. Trajan Wealth. It's really hard. I start to get all these emails. When the weather kicks up like this, I get all these emails from the golf courses that I've ever paid a greens fee at, and I had to give my email at some point,
which is probably a lot.
So they're all going, "Hey, buddy, you want to walk 9 holes tomorrow? It's nice weather."
That's a good sign.
I know they're opening
Mr.
up.
Kirry, we're open for business.
I know, but the problem is that like I don't like even a little bit of cold. Some people will power through and be like, "I'm going to play golf."
Really?
Whatever. I can't do it, man. I don't like it.
You've seen the weather forecast, though.
I know it's going to be nice, but I don't know. The only time I can get out is in the morning. It'll be more cold there, and I don't know.
Don't mean to step on Kevin Eubanks' toes, but I'll throw this out there.
Okay, let's hear it.
Next 3 days. Friday, 55. Saturday, 57.
Ooh.
Sunday, 62 degrees.
That's some St. George weather right there, brother.
March coming in like a lamb.
Let's go. Let's do it. Speaking of March, you know what ends up happening with March? Because March 1st on Saturday, right? Is that what we're talking about?
It is.
We're getting into March on Saturday, and that means we're going to already be talking about a lot more college spring practices and things like that. Although I will say, I know all these teams are not doing the spring game anymore. Like everybody's walking away from the spring game.
It's not. We've seen what, half dozen big schools do this.
Big programs are going, we don't need to do
that.
this. And I think part of it is that the spring workouts are important, but having the spring game itself, I mean, think about ESPN. This is how desperate ESPN gets. We watch the red versus white or the blue versus white, spring games at the SEC network.
Be honest, if you watched the Colorado spring game last year.
We did last year. We did.
Curiosity.
We did because we were like, oh, when was the last time that Colorado even got any pub over the last 2 years? And of course, everybody wanted to see Coach Prime with the cowboy hat on out there at Folsom Field. And here's the thing: we love college football, and yet the trend now is everybody moving away from playing that spring game, and that's probably fine. They're still getting all their practices in, and I think that the model now is that, and like we've heard from a lot of people, like let's just treat it like OTAs. You know what I mean? Like
have no problem with that.
Have the practices, have a mini camp. What you don't want is that torn ACL from the guy that you hear about at the end of spring. I mean, I can recall, and I know you remember these too. I was doing some sidelines for the radio side of things in some of these spring games back in the day when Bronco had a spring games. Remember, they went into overtime of course, Bronco went into overtime. I know you remember this game too. Awful weather. Yeah. It's late March, but it's slush. It's 40 degrees.
Up doing radio and stuff.
Yes,
yeah.
and it is the slush is coming down.
Yep.
And of course, who's the quarterback who goes into overtime with Bronco? Riley Nelson leads the team blue to an overtime victory. Like they're carrying people off the field. And the thing is that's nice, but I will tell you, all of these coaches are looking at this and going, I love the fight. I love the attitude. I don't know if this is what we need right now in March. Knowing that we have summer workouts, camp coming up in the fall. The wisdom behind all of it is fine. the reality is we just look at those things as, hey, we're getting closer to football season. It is actually not true. So, but what is an indicator that we're getting closer to college football season? The way too early rankings have now just turned into way too early rankings. All right. So the SP Plus rankings.
We've dropped away from the way too early.
I know we've already dropped to one way. All right. And so now we are at the point where we're talking about college football rankings at this point. Now, the SP Plus, this is a computer generated model, right? This is mostly going along with, what they do is that they take rosters, they use production that is coming back to the team. That's a big one, right? Returning production.
Yes.
Recent recruiting is another one. Recent history, how well they've done, obviously, on the field in the last couple of years.
It's
all
initial returning production rankings, basically.
Yes, and on top of it, they do roll in recent recruiting, which is kind of hard, too, because that's always you get good classes, so to speak, of recruits. That doesn't necessarily make you a good team, especially if you've got 4 and 5 star guys who
ask Texas A&M.
Well, and ask these teams who got 4 and 5 star guys, and then they transfer out. But you know what they do is they take their recruiting ranking from those seasons that even guys who aren't even in the program anymore are still attached to those rankings. So the SP Plus is it's a measurement. At the very least, you can look at it. So let's roll through let's just go through the top 10 here. Tell me if you've heard this song before, JJ. Ohio State number 1.
Shocker.
You got a problem with that?
No.
No, okay.
No.
Alabama 2.
That I'm surprised by.
Now,
why would Alabama be number 2? Help me out with that.
I think that the SP Plus rankings are recent history, recent recruiting, and because you've got and the returning production. So they have a lot of guys coming back to that roster, okay? And with guys with big names coming back to the roster, the fact that Alabama is always going to be the top 5 recruiting wise, so they get a big bump. What did they finish the AP poll at? I know you're shaking your head.
17th.
They were 17th, right? And they had 4 losses. Now, what's not weighted as much as they do have recent production and what you've done, right? And recent history, wins and losses, but it goes back 4 years. So it goes back 4 years. It looks at that. Why go back 4 years? Like on a team like Indiana.
Back in the day, you would do that because it would take your freshman class should be seniors by now.
What you'd never get, and by the way, I know it's not a shock, Indiana's not in the top 10, right? A team that was in the top 10 for most of the season. A team that shocked everybody as to where they were.
All the way down at 24.
Right. So 2 Alabama, 3 Penn State, 4 Georgia. Now I'm actually shocked that Penn State's 3, to be honest, because Penn State they went to the semifinal this last year, but before that they were always the third string Big Ten team, right? They're always the ones kind of
it was Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State couldn't beat those 2 teams.
Got it. Now Georgia at 4 also is kind of shocking to me because of how much money they spend on recruiting, how well they do recruiting class wise, what their recent history is in the past 4 years. I mean, there's at least 2 national championships or 1 or 2 national championships in that. And so maybe it's because the returning production is a question mark. Yes? That might be the thing that dinged them.
Who's their quarterback?
Yes.
We saw what happened when they didn't have their quarterback.
So Carson Beck goes to Miami, gets his Lamborghini stolen, and then suddenly you're down at number 4 in the SEC, Georgia. Notre Dame is 5. I don't have a problem with Notre Dame. They're the only non-Big Ten.
They lost their quarterback, but that's a good roster, good coach.
Right.
National championship game appearance, no problem.
Numbers will do well for Notre Dame because they're always going to be one of the top recruiting, top 10 recruiting team in the entire country. They're the only non-Big Ten or SEC team on this list. Okay, we'll call them an ACC light team. All right. Oregon.
They're more Big Ten than ACC, but
Oregon at 6. Texas at 7.
Here's where I have a problem.
Tennessee at 8. Ole Miss at 9. And LSU 10. Now, I feel bad for Ole Miss because they've had some good recent success, the most winning success that they've had. They lost the best quarterback that program has ever had. And yes, I said that, the same program that turned out Manning's. But numbers-wise, Jackson Dart was the end-all, be-all of what Lane Kiffin has done in the last 2 seasons. Am I wrong?
No, no one's had that kind of production at Ole Miss.
So
and winning.
Ole Miss benefits from being an SEC team, benefits from whether or not you like Lane Kiffin or not, they are a really good recruiting team. They recruit very, very well, all right? And then LSU at 10. So all of these programs, every one of these is blue blood, right? Minus who's missing? Michigan.
The blue blood that's missing, I guess you could say Clemson and Michigan.
Michigan, USC, not sniffing anywhere in the top 10.
No.
Are they? Please don't tell me they're top 25, though. Are they?
They're not.
Oof.
You'd be shocked
You
where
know what?
USC is.
You know what? Hold on. Before you tell me the number, just them not being in the top 25, I'm tickled that they did not make because the computer recognized something that we have all known, which is USC has massively underperformed.
Yeah.
You should be the number 5. You should be a top 5 recruiting team every freaking year, and they can't do it. Fire this dude. Fire Lincoln Riley. He does not do enough. He has zero personality. He can throw the football. Great. But with what quarterback? And you don't win. So good. Where are they on the list?
They're the 8th Big Ten team on the list. They're 30th.
Wow.
Yeah.
30th.
Illinois,
Wow.
Indiana, Iowa is even ranked higher than USC.
Well, Iowa.
Louisville,
Come on.
ranked higher.
Okay.
BYU,
Ranked higher.
ranked higher.
That's crazy. Now, let's get to some of the local teams. Now, look at the Big Ten, okay? So we just went through Big Ten, SEC. So you got the split on the top 10 is 1, 2, 3 Big Ten teams and Notre Dame, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 SEC teams. Do we wonder where the power in college football currently resides?
It's
no.
clear.
And it's right there. Now, Ohio State won the national championship last year. I don't know if there's going to be anybody outside of the Big Ten and the SEC winning a national championship anytime soon. Maybe Notre Dame. But we all look at Notre Dame as part of the club, right?
Correct.
So the first Big 12 team on this list is Kansas State at 19. Okay, so if you're wondering where the power conferences are when it comes to the SP Plus ranking, you're talking about Kansas State being the first ranked team in the Big 12 on that list.
Should they be the preseason favorite to win the league?
Why would you feel comfortable? I know their returning production is good because they're returning a quarterback, but Kansas State massively underperformed last year.
And Avery Johnson underperformed.
And Avery Johnson,
based on the hype that there was coming in.
I mean, we saw how well he could do, and then he just melted down in certain spots, right? As soon as he started to get behind a little bit against BYU in that end of that second quarter.
Don't let him run.
He melted down.
You win.
Right. And they were in control. Kansas State massively underperformed, but I guess they're getting the boost from the fact that they have one of the higher recruiting classes in the Big 12. BYU comes in at 27, which I think a lot of BYU fans would go, hey, man, that's low. That's low. We just finished this what did BYU end up at in the AP ranking? 13th?
13th.
13th in the AP poll at the end of the season. Phenomenal season. And they're returning their quarterback. They're returning a ton of they're returning basically, a whole bunch of guys on defense, a whole bunch of guys on that offense.
If they can load up the offensive line and don't miss a beat there, then they'll be fine. That's my biggest question. You're replacing some really good dudes on that offensive line, including your leader, Connor Pay.
Yeah, defensive backs, too. I think that's another group that you kind of go, ooh.
Gennaro Guilford's done a terrific job.
He's done phenomenally, but I'm telling you.
I like their safeties.
Think about how much of a solid dude Jackson. We always say Jackson Robinson. Jacob Robinson has been in that backfield for BYU. It's going to be tough to replace him. It's going to be hard, and you're gonna miss him big time. But like you said, Gennaro Guilford now. What's his new gig, by the way? What's his new title? Passing game defensive coordinator.
Yes,
defensive passing game coordinator. Coordinator of some sort.
I'm not smart enough to know what that means.
No,
but
it's a new thing. It's a new thing. It's like the GMs in college football now. They're like, hey.
If they got to come up with creative ways to give a guy a promotion and pay more money, I love it.
Absolutely.
Great. He deserves it. He's done a tremendous job at BYU.
And if there's a guy that you want as your right-hand dude, if you're Jay Hill, Gennaro Guilford's going to be that guy.
Absolutely.
So BYU 27, Utah 32, and then Utah State at 120. I don't know how you could even try to rely on returning production at all in college football and try to have that as one of the metrics.
In 2025. It's impossible.
Half these guys, I mean, not half of them, but I mean, there's going to be guys who leave in the spring from every one of these teams. And does that quote unquote, does a really good player from Notre Dame who leaves and goes to Oregon, is that a quote unquote returning production for Oregon now suddenly? Does that get worked into the S&P, the S&P 500? No, the SP Plus, whatever they do on this computer model.
They're supposed to factor all that in, yeah.
The thing that's tough about this is that out of all those teams that I just named off, and I hate this, it's dead right about the teams that are going to be winning a lot next year, right? Now, You pointed something out last year. Because we felt like last year, and I think you even pointed it out last year.
The SP Plus was not kind to Utah preseason, and I was like, come on.
You're like, dude, come on. These computers are so they're
and man,
even
I
biased.
feel stupid because the SP Plus was right on Utah last year. They were not top 25 last year.
Right.
And S&P Plus, I think, had them in the what was that?
It was like 42 or something like that. Yeah.
It was dead on. Mm-hmm. So there's merit to some of the stuff. It's just numbers. They're taking all these things, and there's merit to it. Obviously, there's going to be some teams that overachieve, underachieve. Injuries are going to happen. There's going to be internal development that happens. Look at BYU last year and the internal development that we saw from that team. You get an offensive line coach in there that completely revamps their offensive line, completely changes their mindset. Those are things you can't measure with statistics. So there's always going to be those outliers, but the numbers often don't lie. And in the case of this, is it going to be perfectly accurate? No. Do I take a look at this and see, does this kind of line up who the best teams in the Big 12 are going to be? Actually, yes. TCU is at 26. I'm very high on TCU. I told you that when we did the way too early. TCU is going to be really good.
Baylor, I think, is also one of those
Baylor's
teams.
going to be good.
What were they?
Utah, I think, is going to be good. Texas Tech is 33, one spot behind Utah. All that group of teams is going to be very.
They're all kind of
very
bunched
good.
up there, right there.
They
kind
are.
of the between the mid-20s
There's
and
that tier of the Big 12,
Yeah.
and I kind of agree with that. Colorado and Kansas are in the next tier. Maybe Colorado bumps up, maybe Kansas does, and then you go from there, and you've got like the Cincinnati, UCF tier.
How is everybody waiting for Kansas to just like suddenly take off?
I don't know why,
It never
why
has.
we
Like,
ever do, because historically they've been bad.
Don't forget
They have a good coach right now, and they've had some good athletes.
Well, I'm not saying Lance Leipold
it's
has.
Kansas, though.
I know,
They've
and
never been good.
That's exactly right. And Lance Leipold, I think he's overrated. I think
Wow.
he's done well.
Okay.
I think he's done well there ish.
I think the fact that they've won as much as they have under him, knowing their history, tells me he's a very good coach.
I just think that
It's
what they've
Kansas.
done. I know, but if you're talking about actually going in and I know they ruined a ton of teams' seasons there at the end.
Including BYU,
right? And you knew that they were
and Colorado.
But they still ended up 5-7 after they
They
were
didn't make a
supposed
bowl
to be
game.
third or fourth in the conference
Right.
for the second year in a row, second or third or fourth in the conference, and they still underperform. I don't know why we get so much love to Kansas on the football side of things. All right, let's take a break. It's so hard, by the way, to live in this part of the country and to watch all of the Southeast and the Midwest and the East get so much.
If you thought that the 12-team college football playoff and NIL and all this stuff was going to balance the scales, we've been proven wrong.
But I just wonder, what's the reality here? Just tell me straight. Do we not love college football here as much as people in the Southeast do?
Not even close. It's their religion down there.
I just don't. Maybe that's what it is. We love college football, but we don't love it enough. Is that our problem? We don't love it enough. Does USC not love college football enough? Does the West not like college football enough compared to the Southeast and compared to the Midwest?
It's a different deal, man.
The Big Ten.
If you've been there and you've been around it, you realize it's deeper down there. It just means more.
I've been at some of those venues and I've seen it. I went to, and these are like the worst ones you could have gone to. Remember when BYU beat Ole Miss, Cal Van Noy years, right? It was like a 17-16 game or something like that. It was not a very good game.
But
and Ole Miss wasn't very good, and BYU was
even
right
Ole
there.
Miss has the traditions
It does.
and everything.
It does. And then I went down to Mississippi State, and again, that's not the same either as
that's the aims of the SEC.
it really is. And after I had to get my hearing checked because of the stupid cowbells at the end of that game,
Yeah.
I remember thinking these people do love their football, but at the same time, why is it that you can't go up to another level? You can't level up to this type of football other places in the country. You can have one-offs. You can have your Oregons.
Well,
you can even have your Boise
invest in
States.
it. You've got to invest in it.
That
At
might
the
be
same
the thing.
level.
That might be the thing that ends
in
up.
every way, financially, emotionally, physically. You've got to invest in it, and
It's crazy.
I think that you're going to see in this state, we finally have two teams that are on that power level, whatever that means moving forward. And maybe that definition is going to change in 2026 when the Big Ten and the SEC basically take ownership of this whole deal. But you've seen the progress that Utah and BYU have made in the last 20 years. And I'm going to give credit to Utah State, how much progress they made. They used to be a doormat. Utah State's football program was a joke. Not anymore. And they've been some ups and downs, highs and lows, but ultimately they've won more in the last 20 years than they did the previous 40 after Merlin Olsen graduated.
And all of us who have, followed Bronco Mendenhall through his career, covered him at
They're
BYU.
going to turn it
for
around.
It's not even just turn it around. They're going to do really well.
They are.
They'll be right there. In 3 seasons, they'll be right there with Boise State.
They'll win a Pac-12 championship by 2030.
That sounds so freaking weird. I look at our producer Alex because I was like, I'm like, oh yeah, just because our brains can't.
Imagine 2012 us hearing what I just said. Like, what did you just say?
Dude, 2020
Utah
us.
State winning the Pac-12?
Yeah, 2020 us would be like,
Right.
We'd have we'd have masks on and we'd be chuckling at each other through masks, or the 2020 versions of each other.
Well, we can't wait till that Utah State, Colorado State 2028 Pac-12 championship game.
Championship.
Go Aggies.
Oh, anyway, the Mountain West foe, UTEP Miners coming to fill in the blank. Who's in the Mountain West?
Mexico.
Yeah, New
The
Mexico.
Lobos.
My goodness. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We've got tons more to go. We've got a basketball roundup here for you. Utah, BYU, and Utah State all in action last night, of course, and we'll have some updates here, and we'll give you a look at man, we're getting down to it. Once we start getting into March, then obviously we get a little closer to the bracketologists actually starting to have to do real work, not all this guessing stuff. They got to really start doing it. So we'll come back. We'll talk some college basketball, local hoops here. That's right around the corner. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Stay with us.
Ladies and gentlemen, the biggest name.
You're locked into JJ and Alex, with the insight and analysis on the teams you can't live without. Presented by G2G Bars. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Get the horns out of that song. What are we doing? Who put that in there? Is that a joke?
Yeah, this is the new open for our college basketball round ball.
It's like a top 10, maybe a top 5 80 song.
Hey, welcome.
And some bonehead threw some horns in there?
I told you we needed something special for our college basketball round ball time.
Tears and fears have got to be rolling in their grave right
Tears for fears, but it is tears. It is tears and fears.
Which guy was tears and which one was fears?
We're having a rough go currently. Can we?
Hey, what happened to the horns?
Tears for fears is like, I don't know. Do we have a?
There
we
they
go.
are.
Come on.
They came back.
Must be like a live
Someone's just
version of it.
messing with us.
You know, they're over making these songs, and they're like,
they invite Kenny G. Like, what are we doing here?
They're like, what? We can get some horns in there. It only costs $50 extra. Okay, let's do it.
Kenny G needs work.
Let's go. Hey, welcome to the program. Yes, college basketball. A little bit of a, I don't know, what were you looking for, JJ? A roundup?
That was the word I was looking
round
for.
Table?
A round up, not a round table.
No, let's bring more people.
We're
in.
not bringing 5 people into the studio right now to
I want to have a
discuss.
little bit of a chat about what happened at Arizona last night. Bring 9 or 10 people in here.
No, we're not going to do that.
Last night, Utah going to Arizona. Of course, this was after the Craig Smith dismissal up on the Hill. And you never know what you're going to get. And it's always hard to go to Arizona to try to – I mean, by the way, they're running into Arizona, I think, who had lost 2 or 3 games in a row at home. And they don't do that very often anyway. But we also know what the emotional vibe was after that loss to BYU on Saturday. And Arizona's looking around going, this is not going to happen to us again.
There's no way.
We are not doing this again.
There was no way Utah was going to win that game.
And because you do see teams after like that type of something happens to the locker room, and they'll jam for a minute, right? They try to get together and go, hey, let's figure this out. All eyes are on us right now. Let's turn it up. But it was still a tough one. They go to Arizona, they lose to number 22, the Wildcats, 83-66. Tommy Lloyd, the head coach of Arizona. How long was he at Gonzaga, by the way, as Mark Few's
He's a long-time assistant
like
for
20
Mark
years
Few.
for Mark Few. Here's what Tommy Lloyd said about Utah coming in after that game and that team coming in, trying to compete against Arizona on their floor after their head coach was dismissed.
Brady and Landon Smith are Craig's kids. And one's the director of operations, the other's a walk-on. And both those kids showed up today, and which is pretty amazing. I mean, I know you guys, this is a business, and it's a hard business, and I get all those things, but, like, we all have families. We all have kids. And for his kids to show up today, and, and Craig, I talked to him today, and didn't have one bad word to say. Straight class. For his boys to show up today with their teammates, it says something. This stuff's hard. What we go through, even when it's going good, it's hard. And I know you guys have opinions and this isn't against the media. This is just society in general. And us guys that decided to coach, there's a lot of really cool things that come with it. But there's a lot of tough stuff. There's a lot of tough days. And you know what? There's a lot of times your family gets neglected because what we're doing to try to, to prove our worth as a coach, to prove our value, to prove that we belong at this level. And so I got a lot of respect for those two young men.
That was nice of Tommy Lloyd to mention that. It is a weird time. I mean, that the timing was not good, like we were talking about from the perspective of these guys. I say the guys on the roster and in the Utah program. That's the timing. That's where the timing is the most awkward. And I brought it up yesterday. I was like, well, from a look like you're trying to do something and make it happen and that the standard is higher at Utah, it was a great time to do it if you're Mark Harlan. It's never a fun time to let anybody go. But doing it when they did it brought a lot of eyeballs and a lot of people going, you know what, Utah is not going to settle for this anymore, right? Basketball has to get to a different level, which you've been saying for the past 3 coaches, right, for Utah?
Feels like more than that.
Right. And so that was a rough one. They go down there at Arizona and they fall to the Wildcats. I mean, at some point, like I said, Arizona's trying to put something else together as well. They're trying to make sure they can make that push and still be kind of a single-digit seed for this NCAA tournament, maybe that 5-6 seed that they've been aiming for. They've been between 3 and 5, and then they've had a rough go, right?
Yeah, and they lost 3 of 4. They lost to BYU, Houston at home,
right,
and then on the road at Kansas State.
Yeah, so they had lost those. So they had lost to Houston at home, and then they lose to BYU. So losing 2 times in a row at home for Arizona, even if it is a really good Iowa State team and a pretty good BYU team, like that's not you don't go to Lute Olson court and freaking lose twice in a row when your coach is making $5.5 million.
They don't lose at the McHale Center. So for BYU and Houston to go down there and get those wins is impressive.
Yeah, bonkers. Also falling last night was Utah State, who went into Boise State last night. You knew Boise State was going to be. Boise State's on there. They're on the bubble, fighting to get in, right? I mean, that's where they're at. And Utah State is solidly in right now, according to all the metrics. And so they ran into. I mean, going up to Boise is always hard to play. And so Utah State, I don't know if I look at that.
It's not a bad loss.
I don't look at it like it was awful.
I'm not. Yeah. They didn't play well. But nobody's looking at that and going, "Oh, wow, what's wrong with them?"
It's a road loss to one of the top 3 teams in your conference,
right?
You know what I mean? Like,
and Boise State is playing really well right now, and they're right on the bubble, as you mentioned. And didn't they? I think they beat New Mexico just recently as well. So they beat the top 2 teams in the league, which tells you all you need to know about them. They got a great coach. In fact, Leon Rice is being mentioned as a candidate for the Utah job. Not the first time he's been a candidate for that job, or at least mentioned. As a potential candidate. But, yeah, you look at what Boise State has done recently. They beat Utah State, they beat Nevada on the road, and they beat New Mexico at home out of their last 3 games after that loss to San Diego State on the road. So they're starting to build a resume and get on that bubble. So it's good for Boise State. It was a win that Boise State absolutely had to have, that Utah State didn't absolutely have to have. And when you're on the road facing a good team playing that well at home, these things happen. Move on.
BYU also on the road at an Arizona State team that is going through it, man. Like the Sun Devils
What happened to them? I mean, Bobby Hurley's
I feel bad for Bobby Hurley, and he will.
Do you?
No, I don't.
He's a piece of crap. I'm sorry.
The Hurley brothers are not guys who get a lot of people are starting to kind of get their vibe and go, oh, yeah.
No one's going to shed a tear when Bobby Hurley gets fired.
So Bobby Hurley, his team has stopped listening to him, right? Haven't they said that kind of along the way?
Jerk.
He's not real nice to him. What is one of those? They had like a high-level recruit come in. And he goes, I would have loved to have met the coach after the game, but he was yelling at the players.
Jeez.
Did you see that?
No.
Yeah, like a 5-star recruit comes in and they go, yeah, I would love to have met Coach Hurley after the game, but he was screaming at his guys in the locker room. I didn't get a chance to.
If you're just screaming at guys and cussing out officials, because that's just how you. There's coaches that do things for a reason, right? You will try to yell at a kid to motivate him, or you'll get after an official because you got to protect your guys. He's just doing it because I think he thinks it's fun.
Yeah.
I don't know what.
I don't know.
It just doesn't. Why are you always like that?
Yeah. Well,
you got to learn how to turn it. If you are always like that, no one's going to respect that.
Well, and then you have Danny Hurley, who is winning national titles, but people are starting to realize, and by the way, I don't know if they just had a yelling dad or what, or just they had yelling.
Their dad was a coach, yeah.
Yelling coaches that they grew up with. That's how they did it.
Bobby played for Coach K, by the way, who was not exactly
Yeah,
Coach K is not the saint that people
no,
try to
no,
portray
no.
him as.
His face was red my entire growing up.
Yeah.
Like I that's how I remembered Coach K.
Coach K is a protege of Bobby Knight, okay?
His face-
So don't
his
act
face-
like Coach K couldn't get after guys.
He had some burst blood
All right.
vessels in his eyes most of the time that I saw him coaching when I was a kid. So, but BYU beats Arizona State 91-81. What did they score against Arizona? Was it 96?
Yes.
So they've scored 96 and 91.
Their offense is rolling right now.
Well, they shot, what did they get? 17. There was a season high for 3-pointers, 17 3-pointers. Richie Saunders had 20, what he had? 26 points to lead all scores.
Yep.
So he had 30 points against Arizona State earlier in the year, and then he had 26 last night. I just had never,
6 3-pointers.
that's crazy. So, Yegor Demon, by the way, 10 assists on the night. So BYU goes to 20-8 overall. They're 11-6 in conference. Remember last year, the breakout season they had at the Big 12, they were 10-6 at the end of the year. Now they added the 4 other teams, and so they get 4 other conference games. Or is it 4 other? Or
No,
how
they
many?
still have the same amount.
No, because last year they went 10-6. They played 16. Oh no, they played 18. You're right. They played 18, but I think
18 games.
Is it
It's
18 that they end up being?
Yes.
Okay, so they can end up. I don't know. They still have 3 games left though, and they're already at 17. So they added 2 more. That's what they did. They added
that what
2
they
more
did?
to conference play.
Sorry.
Yeah, so it was 18. I think now they have
They're
to play
doing
20. Yeah.
Wow.
Double check it, but they've played at 17 already, and they have 3 games left. So either
Yeah,
way,
they're at 11. And so you're right. There's 20 games. They're at 11 and 6.
so they played 20 conference games, but they've already won 11. So they've already last year they were 10-6 in conference play. They're 11-6.
They're
this
better
year.
already. Now, here's the funny thing.
This is what I'm saying.
Is, 2 weeks ago, would you say that last year's BYU team was better than this year's team? You probably would have been tempted to do that. I'm looking at it right now. I was like, this team is. Remember how that team last year was good at the beginning of the conference, even though they beat Kansas late. They weren't playing their best basketball heading in the NCAA tournament. This is completely flipped, where this team's getting better at the right time.
So they had one of the buys, I think, right in the Big 12 in the Big 12 tournament last year. They had one of the top 10 that I think get a first round bye, and then like top 4 get like a second round. Go to the second round.
They got
or
the
something like
first round bye. They didn't get the second.
that. But they
sixth?
play, and they played Texas Tech and got trashed that very first game in the Big 12 championship last year. Or when they played Texas Tech was rolling, and then BYU goes in as a 6 seed to the tournament. And they lose to Duquesne, and everybody's so that's going to be the real gut check, right? That's going to be the real gut check is to see when BYU gets to the end of this at the end of this conference season, which I think that most of the way here because they still have to go to Ames to play Iowa State, right?
Well, here's the scenario here. The top 4 teams get a bye to the quarterfinals, so they don't have to play the first 2 rounds. They're tied for 4th with Iowa State. They play Iowa State and Ames next week.
And by the way, Iowa State, they're tied with Iowa State with record in the conference, but Iowa State's what, in the 9th or 10th team in the country?
They're ranked 9th.
Yeah.
BYU's ranked 25th.
Yeah, it's a good team.
This is crazy where BYU's. I mean, they were. Remember the 20-point loss at Providence?
Oh, yeah.
They weren't
come a
good
long
in
way.
December. They were
No,
not a
they've come
good
long
college
way.
basketball team, and we were like, oh my gosh, this team could miss the tournament. And to see where they're at right now, give them credit. Like they have completely changed their fortune, and they have developed and they have grown together. Kevin Young's grown as a coach. Look, you're making the transition from the NBA to the college. I don't think Kevin Young is a great coach.
Yep.
He was going to be an NBA head coach at some point, so you knew he'd figure it out. It's going to take some time, and he certainly has figured out a lot of things. I love his deep rotation that he's doing. It's almost like an NBA 9-man rotation. They're playing 10, 11 guys.
They play a lot of dudes, and they're
you know
all really
what?
talented.
That's a strength. They got Dallin Hall coming off the bench. Dallin Hall's really good. So, and Traore's a really good post player. Their bench is as good as any bench in the Big 12. And when tournament time comes around, it's going to pay off.
BYU gets to 20 wins last night of the season. Remember when 20 wins was like that was
those days are over.
Yeah, you got to win
25.
25 or 26 kind of get on people's radars like that. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We've got more. Top of the hour, we've got our weekly conversation with Big T, Thurl Bail. A historic night for Walker Kessler. We'll get his thoughts on that. And the Jazz falling to the Sacramento Kings. But Big T always gives us some good perspective on where this team's at and where that locker room vibe is as well. So stay right here. More to go. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Listen, everybody. Real-life hypotheticals to get your brain churning. As JJ and Alex ask, would you rather?
All right, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Alex, Kirry, Jeremiah Jensen. Hey, tomorrow we're going to be at the 10th Annual Salt Lake Off-Road and Outdoor Expo at the Mountain America Expo Center there in Sandy. Go check it out. Awesome stuff to get great deals, getting some off-road land use options as well. You need to go out and check it out for yourself. The Mountain America Expo Center hosting the Salt Lake Off-Road and Outdoor Expo. That's one of our favorite shows we get to go to. We'll be there all the way through 6 o'clock tomorrow night. Between 3 and 6, we'll be there. Hey, JJ, would you rather? We just saw Hans on the way out, and he has a bag. By the way, cool Golden Eagles bag.
Very nice. Shout out to Jay Stevens for
hooking him up.
That.
So we saw
Jay.
his giant freaking skates.
Yes.
Which is a situation I'd have to be in. I wear a 14 wide. I don't know if they have wide skates, but I have a big foot. And ice skates have never been easy for me to find, but so I typically try to squeeze myself into like a 13 at the ice skating rink when you have to rent them. But Hans is going to be getting in the goaltender gear, okay? And I know everyone's laughing. Oh, that's going to be fun. I'm worried for the guy because these minor league hockey players are going to be like, look, I don't know Hans from Adam, dude. I'm going to freaking shoot this puck. I'm going to make this local radio personality figure out what hockey's about. Would you rather take a hockey puck to the shin? No, the shin's bad. That would break. That would break it.
Oof.
Hockey puck to the thigh, or a fastball to the thigh. So you got Major League. You got like a Major League Baseball player.
I probably have to say a puck, but so I didn't play
but the
hockey.
puck has edges,
I played baseball,
dude.
so
the
I
puck
have memories
has
of
edges. Man,
I played baseball, so I've seen some things and I've been through some things.
I've been hit.
But I have not been hit with a puck before.
That's what I'm saying.
So I'm going to go with baseball, but I'm probably very misguided on that. Neither sounds fun.
No, I feel look.
It's not an ideal situation to be in.
Hans does not back down from anything.
What is Hans doing?
He does not back down from anything, right? Opportunity there, and he's like, yeah, let's do it, man. I love it. Let's do it. But then there's part of you that's kind of going, yeah, it's gonna be rough.
Like Happy Gilmore taking fastballs at the batting cage.
It's gonna be rough. I would rather.
Gotta get ready for the season.
100%, I'd rather take the baseball. The problem is that if you're in the goalie gear, good chance they're gonna hit some version of padding on you, or a helmet or mask or whatever. But if it sneaks through on some little area that's
The fact that the goaltenders wear as much padding as they do in stuff makes me think that it's probably more painful to get hit
those
with a
blockers are rock hard, dude. Those blockers, those squares they have, rock hard. They are. And, well, anyway, we'll see. Best of luck to Hans. I can't wait to see that video, by the way. When do we shoot that thing? When are they going to shoot that thing? All right.
I think it's due on a Monday.
Oof. That's going to be rough.
Keeps bringing the bag to work.
I know. I love it, though. Those skates are hilarious. All right, we'll take a break. Big T Thurl Bail is going to join us next. The Jazz fall to the Sacramento Kings. The rest of the way, what are you looking forward to with this team? Walker Kessler making history last night, and Big T's going to give us some insight as to where this team is in the locker room and the vibe with that team right now coming up. So stay with us, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
You know what's coming.
Your daily deep dive into everything Utah Jazz.
It's time.
All season long and even in the off season. It's Jazz Daily with JJ and Alex on your exclusive home of Utah Jazz basketball. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome to your Thursday. Thanks for being with us on the program. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jeremiah Jensen over here. I'm Alex Kirry, and of course, our program brought to you by G2G Bars, all natural ingredients and no preservatives. Make the G2G Bar the perfect protein bar. Got through the first hour, and, man, we got lots going on. And this Utah Jazz team, it may not have looked awesome from a win-loss standpoint. Obviously, they got beat last night by the Kings, 118-101. On that same night, though, you have a historic outing by Walker Kessler. And we're going to kick things off. Of course, the Utah Jazz TV broadcast analyst is Thurl Bail. Big T joins us on the program right now. Big T, thanks for hanging out with us, man. How are you doing?
My pleasure, Alex. JJ, how you guys doing?
Oh, we're good.
Good to see you.
We're feeling really good. Walker Kessler. Now the Jazz lose last night to a Kings team that's trying to make a push here, and they've got a lot more on the line. And they came in, and they're a good basketball team. And they're trying to adjust to life without De'Aaron Fox and trying to figure out bringing Zach LaVine in and having him become part of the team. And he's actually a very good player. But this Jazz team, Walker Kessler continues to be, for me, the story of the year. And this guy who has just made an insane uptick in his, not just his production, but just you see something different out of that guy. And obviously 25 points, 14 rebounds, 5 assists while shooting 100% from the floor. Wilt Chamberlain did it 6 times. Nikola Jokic has done it once. And Walker Kessler. That's the list. That's the list. And so on that type of a night, you watch it, and you still see the Jazz fall. But at the same time, this is, I think, an indicator as to what you're getting. It's the whole year for me, where the Jazz are trying to adjust and trying to get better, trying to develop their guys. And they lose these basketball games along the way, but they learn something. Big T, what was your thought last night kind of Walker's performance and this overall team performance?
Well, Walker, the more he does and the better he plays, he's not surprising me as much anymore. There may be times during the game where he does something that raises my eyebrows that I've never seen. But what it means to me is that he's not afraid to try something, not afraid to fail. And I think his last 2 seasons, in particular, the last season when he had kind of a down season, his growth has just been astronomical. And his summer, you wish you could be kind of a fly to see exactly what he went through in the summer, not just physically, because he came back with a stronger body and in better shape, but also mentally, just getting his head clear and not being so self-deprecating. And just being around positive things like coaches that help you get to the next level. So I just love what he's doing. I love watching him now because it is so tough in today's NBA for a big guy to really have the kind of notoriety. Yeah, if you're a shot blocker, you get known for that. But for Walker to really develop in this kind of league from just being a lob guy or just being a shot blocker, the guy runs the floor like a gazelle at 7 feet tall. So I love what he's doing. And every single night, from my perspective, I try to look for things that are, I want the Jazz to win, but, they're getting beat by teams that are better. But on a given night, they've come in and they've just kept the games close. Last night wasn't really an indicator of that, but the last few have been. The clutch one the other night. So yeah, I look for progress. I look for development. I look for that next step, the one that Kyle Filipowski's taken as well. So yeah, I'm enjoying watching this team progress.
What do teams in the league now in 2025 and beyond looking for out of that 5 position? And how does Walker Kessler fit what they are looking for? Because it seems like, we went through this period of time, when I was growing up, if you didn't have a big, you couldn't win. And then, of course, the Warriors changed everything. But now we're seeing more how important bigs are. You watch the trends. You're watching all these games. You're going around the league. What does the 5 position look like moving forward? And how does Walker Kessler fit that?
That's a great question because this league is kind of a copycat league. There's some things you can't copy. Like you can't copy Nikola Jokic, right? He's just a unique big that can pretty much do it all. It's not pretty, but it's effective. And he's one of the best at it. But I think bigs today, coaches are really looking for bigs who have great hands, a great sense of timing. If you can find a rim protector, right, because there's a lot of bigs in the league that aren't just natural shot blockers, or they don't really look at that as important. But, if you can find a guy who can make some noise on the defensive end by clogging up the paint, players trying to get to the rim. And they don't necessarily have to be a shot blocker as much as they need to be physical, rebounding. Teams are looking for second opportunities, which, again, is what Walker has just done so well, keeping balls alive. But I think one of the most important things, because the 3 is so important, is to at least be a threat down below for dump-offs or kicking back out to the corner threes. So just a big with a good sense. You can't, there's a lot of just athletic bigs out there that can dunk and rise up. They can't do a lot of other things. But Walker just seems to be one of those guys who is learning to be more than just a rim protector and more than just a guy who, his rookie season, he was catching by the rim and kicking it back out. Now he's confident. He's making spin moves that are, finesse at the end. So, yeah, I think in this league you would like to get a big that can do multiple things. But since the 3 is so important, I'm not sure it's that important to have a big with all those things for a lot of teams.
Speaking of bigs, obviously with the Timberwolves coming to town, people remember Rudy Gobert coming in, and they remember what that time that they had here. And I don't know what his status is going to be. I know he's getting closer from coming back from that back injury. I don't think he's played since the 12th of February. But what do you think Rudy Gobert's time at Minnesota has been like, and what he's learned kind of having to shift over there and play a different role on a very different team and with a different style, but at the same time he still has all those assets that make him worth so much of what he does for all these teams. What has Rudy Gobert done in Minnesota that has kind of continued to progress in his career?
Well, I think he's tried to really improve what he learned here, and he got most of his growth in Utah, and so. I thought Quinn Snyder did a really good job in using his assets, using the things he's good at. Obviously, good rim protection. A guy who also is trying to learn how to maneuver around the basket, not just be a lob guy. Not afraid to take chances. So I think it was a lot of that going into Minnesota. And what really helped Rudy, which helps a lot of guys, is a relationship with a guy like Joe Ingles, right? A guy like Mike Conley that knows where he wants the ball, that, you know the pick and dive is coming, but, you got to be a threat if you're the ball handler, but you just throw it up to Rudy and, he does what he does on top of the rim. So I think just being better at some of the things that he was already getting pretty good at. You're not going to see a lot of new things at this stage in Rudy's career. But a lot of it's up to the coaches and their usage of him. You remember a couple of years ago, maybe it was last year against Dallas, when he switched out on Luka.
Yeah.
Probably not a good decision, right? I mean, but, with that length, that might have been your best option, right? So I think, he's learned how to, chase down block shots and things like that. So, yeah, I think we can expect when he's back healthy some of the same things. I think it's worked. I mean, Karl Anthony Towns moving on, I think it's given Rudy a little more freedom in that paint area. So yeah, I mean, he's going to continue to do what he does on the defensive end and be as effective as his teammates allow him to be really offensively.
What has been your impression so far of KJ Martin?
I like KJ, man. I like him because I liked his dad when he played. His dad was just very physical, very feisty, very vocal. Back in a time when you could still be physical as a defender. Now, whatever version of that you can get away with today, I think KJ be a great example of that. He's got some toughness to him. He can jump out of the gym. And so I saw a couple of big-to-big plays last night where Walker Kessler threw the lob pass, right, to KJ. And so I think he knows the game. He's the kind of guy that when you're looking for like a piece to that puzzle you're trying to put together, that he's a good fit, right? He's a good fit for, guarding the teams, one of their best players, making it tough for them on the offensive end, just sneaking in, getting dunks and rebounds. And, he's continuing to work on his three-point shot to be more consistent. But I like the toughness that he brings, he adds to this young team.
This next stretch of games, of course, for this Jazz team, they've got so many things that they can do and all these different lineup options that Will Hardy is getting very creative with and making sure that these guys are developing. And what do you think the best version of Keontae George is? Is not just like coming off of the bench necessarily, but I mean, like JJ pointed out the other day, it was like maybe a sixth man role in the NBA is a perfect role for a guy like him. But is that something that would disappoint a kid who's trying to come up and be on the starting five of a roster here in the NBA?
I don't know if it would now. He's still in the early stage of his career, right? So I don't know if you can say a kid who's in his second year, would he be upset that he's not star? I think it was a change for him. I don't know if upset's the word. It could be. I don't know if he really liked it. But as Coach Will Hardy talked about, look, this isn't just about you. This is what we think is best for the team. So look at it that way. So what if you're getting those minutes, the same minutes? And what if you're at the end of a game like you were a few nights ago and you hit 2 clutch threes? I mean, there's such a sense of the first 5 getting the notoriety and being the best 5. That's just not true in this league. I think bench scoring is just as important. It's not a demotion at all. I mean, I played most of my career coming off the bench. So, yeah, I think either or. I think that Keontae would prefer to get those minutes and start. Yeah. But I think what he has learned, and hopefully he continues to learn, that, what is best for the team you're on right now, this young team that's trying to develop. That doesn't mean you're not going to start again. It just means that we need you to come off the bench and give us that firepower. And after a couple of games, he got it.
One of the biggest differences of the NBA and the college game, and we talk about this quite often, is the defensive side of the NBA. The NBA defenders are just at a different level, and that's something I think people just anticipate. Oh, they score a lot better. They're just way more athletic. But part of that is the insane amount of defending that happens in the league, and that's one thing that this team right now is lacking is that team defense. Where does that start? Like when you see these things and you look and you go, okay, because they've got a great rim protector in Walker Kessler, but at the same time, overall, I mean, the Kings were shooting the absolute lights out last night at Delta Center.
Yeah, I think the Jazz are right now at the bottom of the league as far as, the team scoring, the opponent scoring, opponent three-point making. But for this team, I think that's a collective thing. That's where it has to start. I don't think there's any individual, as good as this league is now, right? I mean, a lot of the young players are just, singled out when you have a star player with the ball. They're licking their lips because, they've got a player who's inexperienced and trying to learn. So, yeah, I mean, the game is geared toward the offensive player anyway. There's not a lot of things that you used to could do that you still can do. They put the restricted area in there to restrict how you can guard somebody inside the paint. Players are just too good for the primary ball defender to just stay in front of them. Great players know how. So that's why there's all these gimmick defenses, the traps to get the ball out of the hands of the primary offensive players. But, yeah, it's tough. I mean, it's tough for a non-rim protector, shot blocker to win Defensive Player of the Year anymore, I think. I think you've got to be really exceptional with steals to really even get noticed. But it's a team with the Jazz. It's a collective effort, not one guy. You notice when Walker Kessler goes out of the game last night, Valanciunas just tries to have his way with Kyle Filipowski, just the physicality of it, and so does Sabonis in a way. So yeah, it's not an individual. It starts with individual players just taking some pride and just trying to not get hung on screens. I think the main thing. Once that guard gets hung on the screen, it just puts everybody else in such jeopardy to help and when the ball swings. So yeah, it starts individually, but it's got to be a collective effort to say, look, we've got to collectively come together and not allow so many easy shots.
Over the last 2 weeks, Kyle Filipowski has 2 20-point, 10-rebound games. His line against the Blazers was ridiculous. 20 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists, a block, 4 of 6 from 3. He's really getting better. What stands out to you about him, and what has allowed him to have nights like that?
It's interesting because when we had our draft show and he was still available, I was hoping he would be there for the Jazz and the Jazz would take him because I think watching him at Duke, and I rarely, coming from NC State, I ever rarely watch Duke games.
Are you giving love to a Duke guy right now?
I am, man. But I just felt like, from what I saw, he could be a really good pro. He could be a really good utility big that could do a lot of things. And what I noticed first off was he had a tough adjustment to this level of basketball starting out, the physicality of it, because I think he thought he had to combat that with physicality instead of what he's good at. And little by little, you could see, the three-point shot was flat, so he had to change that. And he talks about how the coaches have helped him change his shot a bit, but you've got to be open to that. And so, defensively, passing big, he was really hesitant. Like he would get the ball under the basket, and you could see him thinking about what he should do. Should he shoot it? Should he kick it out? And then early on, he was kicking it out. But now he's not hesitating at all. Not hesitating on the three, on the drive. His vision is great on backdoor passes. So yeah, he's come on. I just love the way that he's progressing as a player. And plus, personally, it makes me look good.
Listen, you make everybody look good, Big T. Come on, don't do that. Come on.
No, I'm glad I was kind of right about him because I think he's going to be a great pro.
Well, it's crazy to think what I know the draft, we make all these guesses, right? And it's one thing to go, I watched this guy in college, and it's another to see these guys actually do it in the league because you just never know I never know what's really going to happen. We love some of these guys, and I was listening to, I think, they were talking to Jeff Judkins the other day about, the Utah job, and I remember thinking to myself, he was just like, that's one thing that happens is these guys, you have no idea what they're going to be. He goes, yeah, but I knew that Allen Iverson was going to be the number one overall pick. I was like, yeah, but Majerus was even like, no, he's not. There's no way. He's 6 foot. He's 6 foot maybe, and we make all these guesses about guys, but sometimes guys like you, Big T, who obviously have seen a lot more basketball and forgotten more about the game and can recognize that talent. It's a crazy thing to watch these guys actually pull it off, and so it's awesome to be able to watch these guys develop, and I'm excited about it for sure.
Well, it really is everything now for these young players because. Back in the day, you stayed for at least 3, sometimes 4 years. So you got to develop in college, right? You got to kind of see what these players, what we could be as we stayed in college. And, our bodies got better and we learned the game a little bit more. But really none of these kids come in NBA ready.
No.
I mean, they may have some traits or some things that you can build on quickly, but we've got the G League now. We've got these kids who have been Mr. Everything in high school and college, and they come into the league, and they're role players. And it's hard sometimes for them to adjust because you're not going to be that player when you get to the NBA unless you're very, very special. So, it's going to be interesting to see how some of these future draft picks for next season come into this league thinking that they're going to be doing what they do now in AAU, and what they do in college. So, you're right. It's an interesting game. It's continuing to evolve.
Big T, you got the last 3 of the 8-game homestand. Jazz, of course, welcoming a lot of their former guys into the building tomorrow at Delta Center. Timberwolves come to town, then the Pelicans come to town on Sunday, and then got yourself a matchup with Detroit on Monday, and then you hit the road again. So, hey, have fun with all these broadcasts, and you and Bowler do just such a phenomenal job. We appreciate you guys being able to always give us some insight here, and as always, coming on the program, Big T.
Thank you, too. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, there you go. Thurl Bail, everybody. He's a calming presence, JJ. Makes me less nervous about this team. Right?
Yeah, and that's what you need because you can't come from this from an emotional standpoint, and fans get emotional about their team. And I think a lot of Jazz fans have already separated that. They're just done with it. The hardcore fans that maybe are frustrated with losing, the apathy is set in, which is bad.
Yeah.
I don't want you to be apathetic about this team because this is a process. You can choose as a fan whatever you want. You don't have to even watch games, whatever, right now if you don't want to.
Yeah, and people are dipping out for sure. But what's funny
is not a lecture. I'm just saying, there's no reason to get emotional about some of this stuff because you understand the context of what's going on here. They're clearly trying to A, develop young players, and B, they're trying to go get that star in the draft. And you got to lose a lot to do that. And when you have a generational player possibly available at number 1 overall, you got to, and you're where the Jazz are at right now, you got to roll the dice on that. So that's where we're at. It's okay. But you have moments like last night where Walker Kessler has a historic game, and it gives you hope that, you know what, they've got some guys here. They got some pieces. Now they just need to go finish the job. And is that through this lottery? Is it through the next lottery? Is it finally a point next offseason where there's some guys that come available? Maybe the Luka Doncic thing kind of like sets some things off. I don't know. We don't know what next offseason is going to be like. You never know. Now they talk about big game hunting. You can't go hunting if the buck's not out in the mountain. Right? You're not going to go get the big buck if he doesn't exist. So it's going to take some time. They need to be ready for that opportunity. And I think they would have been ready for the opportunity to make a really competitive offer for Luka Doncic if Nico Harrison wasn't an idiot.
Well, you want to hear a funny rumor? And rumors are funny, right? Because who knows what actually. But the connection between Utah and Minnesota in terms of like the guys who've obviously,
yes,
because what is it now? It's it's Mike Conley, it's Rudy Gobert, it's Joe Ingles. I mean,
Nikhil
Alexander Walker is
yeah.
also on that list too, right? And I was reading this thing from Sporting News today this morning, and their Minnesota Timberwolves like beat writer for Sporting News was like, a massive get for the Timberwolves in the offseason would be Lauri Markkanen. And I'm like, come on. Why you got to do that to us? Why you got to do that to us? And like, and because they think that Rudy Gobert, like he played with Cat, another 7-foot, shooter. And that was one of those things. They're like, yeah, Rudy Gobert knows how to deal with that. And it was like, I don't like hearing any of this, dude. I mean, that's like, but at the same time, game hunting.
That tells you that Lauri Markkanen's a very valuable piece. If there's mention of somebody trying to trade for Lauri, and you go, no way, no,
right.
no,
and then the regret.
Gosh, no,
and the regret that everybody talks about from like the Warriors side of things that they didn't get Lauri in the offseason,
so
right?
They
like,
had to go get Jimmy
deal.
Butler at the trade deadline because they couldn't get Lauri before the season
Yeah.
started.
All right. This portion of the show, as always, brought to you by an incredible selection of Kia, Subaru, Chevy, Jeep, Dodge, or Ram. And now into the family of the Doug Smith dealerships is the Minnesota Timberwolves. No, is the I just drafted the Timberwolves to Doug
They were
Smith.
looking for an owner recently.
Yeah, I don't know what that just went to. The Mitsubishi, of course, is where we've been the last few months down at Doug Smith in American Fork. And nobody knows cars like Doug. Go check it out. We'll take the break. We will come back. Oh, we got tickets to give away today. We've also got our weekly winner of the Hercules Hero of the Week. You don't want to miss any of those, and some more college football to chat about. Stay with us right here, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Your home for the best coverage of the Jazz, Utes, and Cougars is right here on The Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Alex, Kirry, Jeremiah, Jensen. It's a Thursday. In a few minutes, we're going to be rolling out our winner of the Hercules Hero of the Week award, and it's a good one. I'm going to have to trim down this nomination. I mean, my goodness. I love it, though. I love these nominations because they're just heaping praise on somebody who just is awesome. Awesome youth sports folks in our communities, and that's why we do it. And we'll do that in just a little bit. Hey, JJ.
Yes.
You mentioned it. A family 4-pack of tickets to go see RSL take on Seattle in the home opener for the regular season MLS slate for the Real Salt Lake. I guess they already started the season up. I know they've already had home games.
They lost. No, they have not. Well, they had
the home game. Herediano
but
came in.
But that's not Major League Soccer.
And
frankly,
it's not
the hated Seattle Sounders.
The CONCACAF Gold Champions Cup. No, but listen. It's a distant memory for me now, all right?
You've already moved on.
I'm way over it. MLS season
Alex
starts.
has, and he said football is not live today.
Football is currently not live. No, it is, because you got to win these tickets right now. Call number 12.
Let me just say.
Yeah?
The weather Saturday?
Beautiful.
57 degrees at kick.
It'll be warmer, too, when they're setting off all those fireworks in the stands. You can't do the fireworks, though, right, anymore? No?
Fireworks in the stands? What?
Listen, I've watched enough soccer matches.
What country was that in?
I know, it's just but the smoke bombs, do they still do those? Yeah, you can do those. So, and the drums, the incessant drums. You will never stop hearing the drums.
The incessant drums.
They never stop.
That's not a positive comment.
No, it's good. I'm telling you, it is a vibe. If you've never been to America,
incessant ever positive?
It's never been. Look, if you've never been to a game at America First Field, you need to go check it out because the amount of energy that
It's great.
supporters have, insane. So go check it out. Get a family 4-pack of tickets right now. RSL versus the Seattle Sounders coming in to Sandy, to America First Field on Saturday. It's the first day of March. It's going to be a beautiful day for weather. 801-575-ZONE. That's 801-575-9663. 801-575-ZONE. There you go. Family 4-pack of tickets right now. Let me see this. I was looking at so you have a couple things. You have teams who are still trying to. We saw recently that Nebraska nixed their series with Tennessee, right? And initially it was, we're just trying to work out some schedule stuff, and I think that Nebraska cited the rebuild of their stadium, like a renovation of their stadium.
Come on.
Memorial Stadium's only going to be able to seat 80,000 if they were going to be coming in 2026 or whatever it was, and instead of the 95,000, and they want to make sure that. But the reality is that Nebraska, and you saw maybe the back and forth on Twitter with the athletic director from Tennessee. I love it. You got to love social media for this purpose. When an athletic director at Tennessee gets on there and goes, "Let me be clear, we didn't cancel this at all. This was all Nebraska because they don't want to play us. They're trying to make their schedule soft so that they can boost some things up here. And because Nebraska did cancel it, they're going to have to pay $1 million to Tennessee. All right, and they are. The reality is that Matt Rule and the athletic department there is going, look, how can we make it a little bit easier for us to be able to get to the college football playoff? Every team is trying to figure out what's that path look like for them. Okay, Texas has announced today the exact opposite. They said, look, we are doubling down. We are going to make it more difficult. We are going to make our out-of-conference schedule tougher. You know why? Because if you want to be the best, you have to play the best, and we believe that we are the best. Very Texas sentiment, by the way.
Well, I can actually finally say that with some conviction.
I know now it actually kind of feels like it works.
Garcesian.
What did he get extended through, by the way? Like 30?
I didn't
like
know.
20, 30?
Whatever he wants.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is that he's had 2 trips to the semifinals over the past 2 years.
Yeah.
It's not a bad go, especially going into a new conference in the SEC, which is difficult. He was able to put him right there. So Texas says we're the best, we want to play the best, and we're going to step up our out-of-conference schedule. We're going to make it difficult. We're looking to make our front end of the schedule difficult. And that's the right play. That's the right play. I'm not saying I'm saying that's the right play, but make sure that you hear me, though. That's the right play for Texas.
Okay.
That's not the right play for Nebraska. Nebraska's not there.
Okay, let's localize it then.
That is the right play to an extent for BYU and Utah. You've got to be
I've got the future schedules in front of me.
Okay, I want to hear it because I look at it and I go, you've got to be deliberate. You've got to find high-quality opponents, but make sure that you get into your conference play with maybe just one loss.
Okay.
At most. Because you can lose a game in non-conference now, and it's not going to kill you, right?
I can take you through 2030, maybe even 2031. Are you ready?
Let's hear it.
BYU first.
Okay.
2025. Portland State, Stanford, at East Carolina.
Yeah, those aren't great. Those aren't quality opponents. Those aren't putting the butts in the seats for me.
2026. Utah Tech, Cal, at Colorado State.
Okay.
Going to make that trip to Fort Collins?
Going to make that trip to Berkeley?
Well, that's in Provo.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
I remember Cal coming in and, they beat BYU last time they came in, I want to say. That wasn't that long ago either. I say not that long ago, and then I'll look at it and it'll be like 2013 and I'll feel old.
Exactly.
Anyway, okay.
All right. When am I at 2027? Weber State at home. They return the trip to Cal.
They return the trip to Weber State.
And Oregon State of the Pac-12. Your new and improved Pac-12.
So far, I see what BYU's vibe is right now. Keep it going.
To Texas, you
right.
get where I'm going. I'll finish this quickly because you get where I'm going with this. And I don't blame them. Oregon State, Boston College in 2028. They only have 2 scheduled so far. 2029, Colorado State at home at Boston College. I went to Boston College 2006. Matt Ryan was the quarterback in that game. That was fun.
That's right.
2030, Weber State, Virginia Tech at home at Northern Illinois. 2031, Southern Utah, Navy, SMU.
Wow, they've got a lot of them on there because Utah's schedule, they have 2025 and 2026 locked up, but they don't have They don't have more than one or two.
They don't have as
for the
deep
rest
a
of their
schedule. They got a couple teams. Yeah.
Utah goes next year, of course, is at UCLA, home with Cal Poly, and then at Wyoming. Okay, whatever.
It's not great.
2026 is hosting Idaho, hosting Arkansas, and hosting Utah State. 2027, that's the big one where they go down to Vegas and play Miami. Okay, that's the biggest name, by the way, that we've read off of any of these teams, right? So far.
Bigger than Arkansas, yes.
Oh, yeah. And
as
even
far as top 25 teams currently right now, that's all. That's as good as it's going to get.
Well, and because
until
of the eyeballs.
2031.
But see, that's what we're talking about. Is you want games like that because you want eyeballs. The early front end of the season needs to be exciting. Okay,
and I think the College Football Playoff Committee should incentivize teams by rewarding them for playing tough out of conference schedules.
Here are their best games though going forward in their schedules. They go to Wisconsin in 28. They go to Arkansas in 29. They play UCLA here at home in 2030. That's an old conference game too. That doesn't feel like that big. They welcome LSU to Rice-Eccles Stadium in 31. You remember when they made that one, and then the very next year they go down to Death Valley at LSU
and Wisconsin,
and then Wisconsin
in
2033. So. Look, if you're going to make these if you're going to make your schedules, okay, Texas can say we'll play because Texas is playing some tough. Texas is asked by ESPN and Fox and whomever their TV partners are in all of this. They get asked, hey, will you play this game? Like they are sought after to be on the front end of college football schedules, okay? They want, and they're going to search out playing these games. However, you can't play all three of these games every year and have them be dynamite. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't have Texas or Oregon every week or every year. You can't do it. You can't have Texas USC every year. All right, but you do some version of that, and teams need to do what Texas is doing and not be so afraid of scheduling tough teams because it's not punished as much anymore. Your conference schedule matters more than it has ever, and on top of it. You don't have to be undefeated. And if you do take losses, the front end of the schedule is where they can happen.
Yeah.
And you can still make the college football
Look
playoff.
at Notre Dame.
Yep. Oh, boy. They had They're like, never schedule those cats ever again. Do you think Northern Illinois gets a return game again to South Bend at some point in the future? No way.
No chance.
All right. Let's take a break. Before we do it, it's that time of the week for us to be able to read off our Hercules Hero of the Week. The nomination comes from the nomination comes from John Crespo for Ryan Francis. I'm not going to read the whole nomination, but it deserves a ton of recognition here. For the past 5 years, Ryan is dedicated as a volunteer coach in the Vineyard, Utah community, having profound and lasting impacts on the lives of young athletes, particularly in the group of girls that have played under his guidance from the very beginning. Ryan's kindness, exceptional coaching skills, and leadership have been instrumental in creating positive, inclusive environments with these girls that have not just honed their soccer abilities, but have also developed valuable life skills. His coaching style fosters teamwork, sportsmanship, and personal growth, and his influence extends far beyond the soccer field. It's rare to find somebody who can both have athletic achievement and meaningful friendships, but Ryan has done just that. So congratulations to Ryan. He wins the Hercules Hero of the Week award. Ryan Francis is your winner. Congrats to him. He gets a Visa gift card, courtesy of the folks at Hercules First Federal Credit Union, and $200 to Beehive Meals, and that's how we do it, JJ. I love these. I love reading these stories, and every week they're just so cool to be able to see the people who are making impacts in their community. It's really awesome. So you can do the same thing. If you just heard that, you can nominate for this Hercules Hero of the Week award somebody in your community who's doing something just like Ryan Francis has done down there in Vineyard. So nominate them by going to kslsports.com/contests, and then write up that nomination, and we'll get it going, and we read those winners off every Thursday, brought to you by Hercules First Credit Union and Beehive Meals. We'll take a break. We'll come back, and we will have more to chat about. Oh, man, the fake world of movie sports have lost a hero today with the passing of Gene Hackman. We will roll over, of course, one of the favorite scenes in all-time sports movie history coming right up. More to go. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Accessing.
When TV and radio collide.
Love it.
Wow. This is what you get. You're listening to JJ and Alex. Presented by G2G Bars.
Don't touch that dial.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back, everybody. JJ and Alex, 97.5 VKSL Sports Zone. Alex, Kirry, Jeremiah Jensen. We were, at the top of the hour, we were chatting with Big T Thurl Bailey, JJ, and we were talking about.
I remember that.
It was just mere moments ago. It's just, I don't know. I'll never forget it. But we were talking about attendance in the league and just kind of, and we were talking about how fans react. And I'll tell you, fans can get grumpy. And we were talking about this. You get a lot of people who go, I can't watch these games right now. I'll tell you what everybody's doing, though, is showing up to freaking Delta Center.
It's still a party every night.
It is. 18,000 plus every night. The Jazz are.
It's NBA basketball.
The Jazz are 13th.
It's fantastic.
The Jazz are 13th in the league in attendance, and they're averaging 18,200 a night. I mean, they're selling it out basically every night, close to sellout every night in that building. And I think we forget that. Sometimes we're like, man, it's tough to watch this team. But when you get the tickets and you go, which, by the way, there have been times where you can get tickets for less than $10.
It's a good time to actually go to NBA games here in town. And they're playing good teams that come in and some of the biggest stars in the game. It's still good value.
While we're on the subject of tickets to Jazz games, we've got tons of tickets to give away for Sunday's Jazz versus Pelicans game. And what we've got going on is this. You go to enter at KSLSports.com. There's a Win Jazz Tickets tile right there you can click on. And if you want to win, you go there, you enter your name to win there, great. But I will just tell you right now, if you're listening to this station, the KSL Sports Zone tomorrow during DJ and PK's program and during Jake and Ben, you're going to get a keyword, and that keyword is going to be able to get you 97 extra entries. So you get 97 for the price of one entry. And that price is $0, of course. So go to the contest page and check it out for yourself. And then tomorrow, listen for those keywords during DJ and PK and Jake and Ben at 8 and 11 in the morning. And you're going to be able to win even more for the bonus words. And listen, that keyword is going to get you those bonus entries, and you're going to be able to have a shot to win those. But we got tons of tickets to give away for Jazz and Pelicans, so let's do it. JJ, we lost a legend. In the acting world, it's still weird because I don't really know how to treat this because we don't really know how Gene Hackman passed away. When I saw the news initially this morning, I'm like looking at my phone, kind of like, whoa, this is the news that I got hit with. Yeah. But he's 95. 95 years old.
Died. I was like, oh, he's 95.
There
he finally passed away.
But he said alongside his wife, and I assumed that she was by his side when he died. But it turns out that his wife passed away, he passed away, and one of their dogs at their Santa Fe, New Mexico home. So they say that there's no foul play. They say there's no danger to the community, but we're not exactly sure what happened. But the bottom line is Gene Hackman, who I grew up watching Hoosiers at least once a year. It's still in the I still have the DVD in my collection. I still can mouth all of the words along to that movie because it was one of those that my dad and I watched together a lot. You think about Rudy. Rudy's not a great movie.
No, it's not.
And we know that the background is not great either because it's been fictionalized.
There's been some liberties taken.
It's Hollywood, fine. But, man, it gets you right here because it has that growing up. Hoosiers was that movie for me as well. Ollie making those granny shot free throws to win the region. Again, as basically the team trainer and then going and winning the game from the free throw line. Gene Hackman delivered one of the great sports speeches of all time. Here's what it sounded like, if you'll recall, one of our favorite movies, Hoosiers, as Gene Hackman has passed away at the age of 95.
There's a tradition in tournament play to not talk about the next step until you've climbed the one in front of you. I'm sure going to the state finals is beyond your wildest dreams, so let's just keep it right there. Forget about the crowds, the size of the school, their fancy uniforms, and remember what got you here. Focus on the fundamentals that we've gone over time and time again. And most important, don't get caught up thinking about winning or losing this game. If you put your effort and concentration into playing to your potential, to be the best that you can be, I don't care what the scoreboard says at the end of the game, in my book, we're gonna be winners. Okay?
Oh, man, fired it up. He measured the height of the hoop, of course, there in Indianapolis at the state championship final that they got to. Measured the free throw line and famously said, I believe you'll find these same measurements there at our gym at Hickory. And they ended up, hey, spoiler alert, they won the state championship thanks to 37-year-old Jimmy Chitwood.
Well, congrats to Hickory. I can't believe that movie's almost 40 years old. It'll be 40 years old next year.
Best Gene Hackman movie, though?
Royal Tenenbaums?
Royal Tenenbaums pretty dang good. Okay. But Crimson Tide, that is... Because think of the cast. You had Gene Hackman, who was like the bad guy, but also the captain of the USS Alabama.
Yeah.
Denzel Washington was the lieutenant commander. James Gandolfini was, of course, on the side of Gene Hackman, the bad captain. Viggo Mortensen, you remember this? He's on that ship too.
That's right.
It's a great cast, dude.
Before anyone knew who he was.
It's a great cast. So, anyway. Gonna miss
Young Frankenstein. Got a shout out to that.
Oh, yeah.
Which movie did he win an Oscar for? That was back in the 70s.
French Connection.
That's right.
He won one, and I think he won another one for. It's escaping me at this point, no, but yeah.
Incredible career.
Yeah, two-time Oscar winner, Gene Hackman. Dead at the age of 95 today. What was your Walter?
Project News from Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Don't do it. 95.
Gene Hackman dead today at the age of 95.
I would have never known that he was 95. I would have said he was maybe 75 because he looked 75 his entire career. So, all right, coming up next hour, guess what we have? We got ourselves a conversation with Joe Smith at his hockey night in Utah coming up at the 7 o'clock hour. You're going to get the puck drop, a huge Central Division matchup between the Minnesota Wild and the Utah Hockey Club. We'll see if the club can keep things going here as they've been on fire over here at Delta Center the last couple games. And, man, I'm telling you, this is a good time to be a hockey fan. Minnesota Wild are no team to mess with right now, too. They've got to win all the games that they can. Joe Smith, who covers the NHL for the Minnesota Wild and the Athletic, is going to join us next. So stay here, 97.5 DKSL Sports Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen,
the biggest name. You're locked into JJ and Alex. With the insight and analysis on the teams you can't live without. Presented by G2G Bars. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Alex Kirry, Jeremiah Jensen, thanks for being with us on the program. Our show is always brought to you by G2G Bars. All natural ingredients and no preservatives make the G2G Bar the perfect protein bar. Give it a shot. Costco, Holiday Oil, Maverick, Associated Foods, many other places in the refrigerated section. Go check it out for yourself. It's that time of the show for us. It is a hockey night in Utah night right here on the KSL Sports Zone. Of course, the radio home of your Utah Hockey Club right here. You want to keep it dialed all night long, and why not when the Utah Hockey Club are playing such good hockey right now? It's not just fun to watch them win, but these are exciting games. And I'll tell you one thing I've learned about the NHL this year, JJ, is home ice advantage hasn't necessarily been a thing.
No.
And tonight's
both of these teams show that.
No, and you know what? I mean, in this particular matchup with this team, the hockey club has beaten the Wild twice at their place this year, and then the Wild came here and beat Utah in a shootout.
Comeback, yep.
And I think this is the last of the four games that they're going to be taking on each other as Central Division foes this year. Joining us right now on the program is Joe Smith. He covers the NHL and the Minnesota Wild for The Athletic. Joe, thanks for hanging out with us today, man.
Hey, no problem. A beautiful day in Salt Lake.
Hey, sure. I'm telling you.
You picked a good time to come.
Good one. Yeah, this has been fun. Hey, so, look, this is the fourth and final matchup during the regular season for these two teams. And what has your impression of this Utah Hockey Club so far this year? That they've been feisty, to say the least. They've had some head-scratching losses. They've had some really, really nice games, and two of them have come there in Minnesota against this Wild team that's very, very good.
Well, when they're good, they make it really, really good. And like some teams, when they struggle, they can look pretty bad, right? So I think they're making a really good push right now for the playoff spot. You got some exciting young talent. I love Logan Cooley as a player since his days in Minnesota. When they play that fast-paced hockey and can get up and down there like that, I think it's really fun to watch. So, they were, remember back in Arizona, even like a year or so ago, like they were in a playoff hunt before the news about the change and uncertainty about what might happen with the franchise that really kind of took the wind out of their sails. So this is there's a talent on this team. It's just a matter of putting it all together and being consistent, which haven't been enough this year.
What has it meant for the league to have that Arizona problem behind them? You covered, you watched Minnesota play Arizona 4 times a year. You knew what was going on down there. How good has this been for the league to have that problem go away and to have this replace it?
Yeah, not only for the problem to go away, because it's always the constant negative question. Even though I think, guys love living in Arizona, I think there's certain parts of it that they really liked. It really felt like something had to happen, and not just to change it, but to get such a welcomed response, and the ownership has been like night and day in Utah, and the players I've talked to have been like incredibly impressed. The facility in Sandy coming up is going to look really good. They need stability in their ownership and as a team for a long time, and now they finally have it, and it'll help them on the ice in years coming forward.
This Minnesota Wild team's really good this year, and they are doing exactly what I think that people had them down for at the front end of the year, which was definitely in that playoff hunt and definitely at the top of those standings in the Central Division, and they are one of those tough teams to beat. What's been so consistent about them this year? What's the Wild done to be able to get to the spot that they're at, winning the majority of their games and really dominating teams when they do it?
Well, I think what's been the most consistent thing has been their road performance. The best road team in the league has really made up for a simply mediocre team at home. They're 13-13-1 at home, which has been really rare for them. So the road record, they started with 7 road games in October and really took off from there. They've just really been banged up a lot. Kirill Kaprizov is out. Currently, he's missed a good chunk of the second half. He was a Hart Trophy front runner until he got hurt in December. The goaltending has been much better this year than last year with Fleury and Gustafsson, and that really makes a big difference for them. So, it's a lot of the same guys from last year. So not a lot of roster turnover, but some improved play by some of the players, and obviously the goaltending has made up for a lot of things as well.
Can you put your finger on why this team's so good on the road?
I wish I knew. I think the coaches wish they knew they could fix that at home, but I think they come with more of a simple mentality, like a certain commitment level in their mindset, playing on the road, knowing it'll be harder to win there. And I don't know if there's a way to explain it other than that, because a lot of the stats don't tell the full story on it. They have really good confidence playing away from home and had some really big wins, even including in Denver the last time that they were there. So, there's not really one stat that can explain it. It's more so that they just play a more collective team game. They play with a certain commitment level they need to win, and they don't have that juice at home for some reason, which is kind of surprising. It's a great atmosphere, Xcel Energy Center.
Matt Boldy's been a nice revelation for this team as well. What has he added? This is a guy who's pretty young. He's in just his 4th NHL season, but he seems to have had a really good go this year with scoring 51 points, I think, so far in these 58 games. What's he done for this team right now, and what kind of energy does he bring to the ice?
Well, they needed him big time because Kirill has been out. Him and Rossi play so well together, and I was really impressed with Boldy at the Four Nations tournament. He played up and down the lineup. He played in the third line at some time, and he really played a strong overall 200-foot game, and he was getting more physical, which I think you saw in that one as well. And we need to do that more often in Minnesota in the playoffs when they get there. So, but just great vision, really great hockey IQ. The stick handling and all that stuff is top notch, and I think he has a lot of the total package there. Where I know Bill Guerin has said he thinks he could be a 50-50 guy, 50 goals, 50 assists guy at some point in his career, and he has the skill set to do it.
Marc-Andre Fleury's a nice story at age 40 to be able to come on this team and give him a boost. I know he's only played in 20 games, but he's been pretty good in those games. 12-6 record, and 12-6-1, I should say. In net, what is his presence? How has he impacted this team?
Well, I think the word culture is thrown out a lot different ways, and it's hard to define and it's hard to quantify. But I think since he's come over in the last number of years, it really provides that, not just the positivity and the fun that he has all those pranks, but like just the work ethic. You watch this guy practice, it's like he's fighting to stay in the league as a 22-year-old, and here he is, a former top pick and future Hall of Famer and all the records, and he's out there grinding every day and enjoying it and having fun. And I think it really rubs off other guys, younger players. Who's better for like a young prospect like Jesper Wallstedt to have as a goalie than Marc-Andre Fleury as a mentor? So he has a, and I don't want him to do after his career is over here, but I think any team would love to have him as part of the organization, whether it's helping goalies or just executive or whatever. He just helps, rubs off everything's so good around him, rubs up everybody else.
You know, you look at the top of the Western Conference, and the Jets are far and away, points wise, especially. I mean, they're on this insane 11-game win streak as well. It's just crazy. But you've got the Jets and the Golden Knights and the Stars, and then the Wild are right there. And really, that Knights through the through the Oilers kind of have that. Everybody's right there in terms of points, and the Jets are just so much further in front of everybody. But the Stanley Cup playoffs are the equalizer, right? What is the Wild's chance to really make a push in the playoffs to be into that Stanley Cup Finals, maybe representing the West, or is it another couple of years away? Do you think? I always feel like the Stanley Cup playoffs are just a coin toss almost because of how good the level of play is.
Well, I think the big thing is just getting out of the first round, right? I think it's happened once the last 10 years for the Minnesota Wild. So, that's something that's really on the forefront, just getting a playoff win first to get there, and then maybe you can roll from there because you're right, any team can do some damage with a hot goaltender and a really, hot group. So I just think overall, I don't know if I would call them like cup contenders at this point. I think they're getting there. I think having the dead cap hits, the Parise and Suter's buyouts coming off the books mostly this summer, combined with the salary cap going up, will give Bill Guerin a lot of money to play with, aside from signing Kirill Kaprizov as they hope. So they have a lot of pieces, really good pieces here, just more so maybe enough to go on a little bit of a run and maybe win a round or two. But obviously there's so many good teams in the Western Conference and the East that I don't know if I'd call them a cup contender yet, but they're getting there.
People here in Utah love hockey. The game's starting to grow here, and it's going to grow exponentially with Utah Hockey Club and the NHL now here. But in Minnesota, hockey is a religion. We understand that and know that. But because of that, how much pressure is there on this organization and this team to win at a high level because so many people in Minnesota are so passionate about the game?
Well, I can tell by my comment section on stories, there are a lot of GMs in the state of Minnesota with how they're doing it. But I'll give the fan base credit in this way. They're incredibly patient, right? It's been a long time since they won a playoff round. Obviously, they've been a long time since they've gone deep into playoffs, very rarely. And so they sell the building out every night for the most part. Such a passionate group of fans, and it just makes me feel like, and I covered Stanley Cups in Tampa and boat parades and all that stuff. I just can only imagine what it would be like if they went on an actual run and won a Stanley Cup or gotten close, because such love for the sport from the day they're born till the day they die. And so I think it'd be an incredible moment, or just the passion of the city to see it if they got through some playoff success, which they're hoping for.
Joe Smith, he covers the Minnesota Wild for The Athletic and covers the NHL overall as well. All right, what's this matchup tonight look like then? Utah Hockey Club and the Minnesota Wild over here at Delta Center on a beautiful day here in Salt Lake. These fans are pretty wild, and they love the vibe that's going on in this stadium right now. How does this one shake out? How does Minnesota get the win? How does Utah get a potential upset win over the Wild?
Well, I think, for Utah, it's kind of getting traffic in front of Fleury, and Fleury's been playing really well as of late. He had that big win in Detroit last weekend. So just get some traffic in front and try to get the lead early and force Minnesota to try to come from behind and win that way. A big thing also is just slowing down the Boldy and Rossi line, because they're pretty. The depth up front isn't quite there with all the injuries to Joel Eriksson and Kirill Kaprizov, and Ryan Hartman's still suspended. So if you kind of stop that Rossi-Boldy line, make the offense come from some other place, so they can find a way to win.
Joe Smith, he covers the Minnesota Wild and the NHL for The Athletic, and we appreciate you joining the program here. Enjoy your time in Salt Lake here and have fun at the arena tonight.
I appreciate it. Good talking to you guys. Take care.
There you go.
Thanks. Enjoy your time in Utah.
There you go. Minnesota Wild, man. What's crazy is that, across the entire league, it's pretty bonkers because the Caps are really good, right? But the Winnipeg Jets have 87 points already. They're on an 11-game win streak.
But you wonder if that's just a regular season.
That's the thing, is that's happened. That happens in the NHL.
Are they going to actually turn that into playoff success? I don't know.
They didn't last year.
They have the best goalkeeper in the league.
Yeah, they do.
They have the best goalie in the league. There's no doubt about that. He showed it in Four Nations.
So the Western Conference looks like this. it's a dadgum mess. So the Central Division goes like this: 87 points for the Jets, and then the Stars have 76, and they're in second. All right, so they are well far and away from that second place team. And then the Wild are right there; they're third in the Central Division. The Avalanche have 70 points, and then Utah with 61.
The Wild they're going to stave off the Avalanche.
Yes,
that's interesting. That's something to watch.
Yeah, and they're a couple points ahead of them right now, and both of those teams are about 500 in their last 12 games. So you've got Utah, who's won a couple in a row. Minnesota's coming off of a loss, and tonight's going to be a huge one. I mean, it actually bodes well for Utah just because they have already gotten them twice there in Minnesota, but Minnesota does play really, really well on the road, weirdly, right?
Right.
But
I think Utah matches up well. They lost that game at home against them, but remember, they collapsed at the end.
Well, and it was a shootout
that
loss.
Should have been a win. That should have been a dub for Utah, and they couldn't finish it off. I mean, if they could have finished that off, we'd be talking about the potential of getting a sweep against a playoff team in the division here. So I do think they match up really well with them. Utah's healthy right now, which is key. They have a lot to play for. They have more to play for than the Wild, in my opinion. Psychologically, motivationally, Utah's got a lot on the line tonight that Minnesota doesn't, and you wonder if that's going to be enough for that team. They had to gut out a game against Chicago, and that was just guts. 2-1. They found a way. Lawson Krause had an incredible goal in the third to get the win. There's just some nights where you got to gut one out, and tonight's got to be one of those nights. They need this win pretty bad. They need a win against a playoff team because they've got some games coming up against teams that aren't as good that they should win. But to steal one of these games that you think on paper, I don't know, the other team has an edge, that would be huge for Utah in this race because what's going to separate them from Vancouver and Calgary and St. Louis? The quality of wins is a way to separate yourself. Go get those games that nobody thought you were going to win, and maybe tonight's one of those games. They've got to keep chipping away. They can't have this win one, lose one situation. Yeah. They're never going to catch up. They're never going to get there. They've got to get games like tonight when they're at home, on a homestand. This team's got to start playing better at home and taking advantage of the home crowd.
I'm interested to see how, because we haven't seen much from. I'm waiting for Dylan Guenther to have another one of his kind of signature nights. There's been other guys who've been showing up, like your Lawson Krause's, who have those game winners, and Dylan Guenther's this team leader, and he's a points leader, and he's a goal leader, and he's so dang young, and I think that this is the kind of night where he could have a real breakout again, and he's been phenomenal all year. But I haven't heard his name as much in the last couple of games.
Yeah,
so
he got that goal the other night, the game winner, the 2-1 game that they won. Who were they playing? My brain has let me down.
The one where they
Tuesday. No, on Sunday. Sorry, Sunday, Vancouver. He scored the second goal against Vancouver.
Not Guenther. No, that wasn't
Guenther.
Yeah. Oh, was it? Yeah,
it was.
I guess it was.
Cooley had the first one. Guenther had the second one. But you're right. I mean, you need your guys to step up.
Yeah. Yep.
You need your best players to go out there. And their offense, they're getting chances. They've been very aggressive. They outshot the Blackhawks by a lot.
Yeah, it was almost double.
They just could not break through. So maybe tonight's one of those nights where that kind of effort, that fanatical effort, pays off in a big way offensively. I remember that game where they beat the Vegas Golden Knights 6-0. They need one of those kind of games. They need a game like that.
Well,
and they're playing hard enough to get one of those.
Last time they beat Minnesota, they beat them 4-0.
Yeah, they did.
Place.
They waxed them pretty good.
And guess what? I don't know do we know who's between the pipes tonight?
Marc-Andre Fleury.
No, I mean.
Vejmelka will go tonight.
Okay, so Veggie, he's the one who had the shutout.
Yeah,
there in Minnesota.
That's one of his best games of the year. Yeah.
Okay.
Get a dub tonight. That'd be big.
Let's take a break. We'll come back. We've got more to go on the program. We're gonna get you your NFL Blitz, and of course, we'll get you ready for hockey pregame coming up at 6:00 as well. So stay right here. More to go on the program. This portion of the show brought to you by Trajan Wealth as well, your local trusted financial fiduciaries in retirement. It's TrajanWealth.com. We'll come back. More to go, 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
All the latest news and notes from the league and the locals in the NFL. JJ and Alex bring you the NFL Blitz on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Alex, Kirry, Jeremiah Jensen. Thanks for being with us on the show, everybody. Let me see here. Where'd Sam Laporta go to school? Remember? Oh, he was, he was an Iowa guy. He's from Illinois.
Yes, Iowa.
So, I love draft week. I'll tell you why. They put out, it's embarrassing. Like, I'm glad they wait a little bit. Like, even just their rookie year would be hard. But Sam Laporta is one of the most impressive. I mean, this was his second season, right?
Yeah, he's been great.
He's been phenomenal for the Lions. He was a second-round pick. He was the 34th overall pick. That's pretty good for a tight end, right? Was that the same Dalton Kincaid draft, by the way? 2023?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so Dalton went what? 25th?
Yeah.
21st, 25th, something like that. Sam Laporta was the third tight end taken. And I mean, look, Sam Laporta's really good. So is Dalton Kincaid. I mean, those have turned out great for both of those teams. But they're doing this thing now where you go back and the combine, I just feel so freaking bad for these kids, man. I mean, it makes me anxious. I was never anywhere close to being able to be a professional football player. And when Sly tells those stories about his agent freaking forgot to give him the email, or the email popped up like weeks later, and his stupid agent, who he initially had and fired obviously after not very long, didn't tell him that he was invited to the freaking combine. So he had to like do this truncated workout to get ready for the combine. Like, that makes me anxious freaking thinking about it, right?
No.
And they showed the video. The Detroit Lions put out the video of Sam Laporta's interview. And they're going through, they're watching some film, and he's giving the answers, and they're like, what would you rate your hands? 0 to 10. He's like, oh, that's tough. I mean, I guess I could say 10, but the reality is that's something I think I could get better at. I don't drop balls. Like, you can look at all my film. I don't drop balls, but I still feel like I could be perfect, And he's like, so I'd give it an 8. And they're like, okay. They're going through all this thing, and at one point the GM goes, "You keep looking at the clock. You got somewhere to be?" Like, they're showing this interview with Sam Laporta. He goes, "I just keep seeing it tick. I don't know. I'm hearing it tick. I'm hearing you guys ask me questions. It's ticking away." And the guy goes, "You're kind of sweating right now." He goes, "You bet I am." He's sweating in the interview. And he goes, and he talks about being a locker room guy, and he's like, "You will have zero problems with me." This is Sam Laporta. This is the team that drafted him, by the way.
That's crazy.
They're like, "What are you sweating for, bro?" You think? Oh, and one of the questions was, "You think you can catch a ball over the middle if it's safety's coming at your ribs?" He's like, I think so." And he's like, "I've got some stuff on film getting hit pretty hard." He goes, "Yeah, but an NFL safety's going to come at you." He's like, "Yeah, I think I could. I think so. Like, yeah, I'm good." Like, and I just remember it's like
Chris Farley at the combine.
He's like, there's that scene out of Office Space where he's like, "I'm a people person. What the hell's wrong with you guys?" That's what it reminded me of. I was just like, "You're sweating." I'm sweating. I know. Yeah, I'm nervous. Why are you nervous? Should a team draft you? And he's like, "Yes." And that's Sam Laporta.
He's done just fine. Iowa, yeah. They tight ends and punters. That's what Iowa does.
Yeah. So anyway, I thought that was funny because draft week or combine week always gives us some fun stuff from the NFL. The Blitz is always this time of the day. So we're getting you ready for hockey also coming up in just a little while. But NFL news: Travis Kelce has said he is going to return to play in 2025, saying, "quote It was a bitter taste that's left in my mouth. I got to come back." That's a tough thing.
One more tour for Kelce.
Oh, quit it.
A new era for Travis Kelce.
I was wondering when all this is going to show up. Hey, this is peak JJ and Alex right now. Keep it coming. On their podcast, he and his brother were talking about stuff, and he goes, he's like, "Yeah, I mean, look, I'm always in the mood to listen to some Taylor, And I'm like, "What are you guys talking about?" He's like, "Yeah, I had my heart broken by the Philadelphia Eagles. I was listening to a lot of Taylor Swift that
Does he have to have it playing all the time?
No,
when
you
she's
don't.
around?
You don't need to even mention it. You're a Pantera fan. We get it. You don't need. Do you think Travis Kelce, if he was not dating Taylor Swift, would be listening to Taylor Swift? Absolutely not.
I think Travis just needs to shake it off.
Oh my gosh. This is what. Hey, this
Look
is why
what
JJ
you made me do.
I know. That's why JJ gets
Don't
the
blame
big
me.
bucks.
Don't blame me. It's a little bad blood here.
I know. Quit it. You've officially passed it.
All too well.
Oh. Travis Hunter, by the way, he says it's very important for him to go number 1 in the draft. Why would that be important? Why is it important that you go number one there? I'm a two-way guy. He's not going to participate in the combine except for in the interview processes, which he's already told teams, I'm showing up interviewing as a wide receiver. Why would you interview as a wide receiver? Because people already know what you can do as a DB? What are we talking about here?
Why not?
But why do you need to be number 1 versus number 3? You know what I mean?
These are the greatest competitors in the world.
He wants to be number 1.
He won a Heisman Trophy.
You want to go to the Titans? Congrats.
He'll figure it out later. Like, all these guys want to be number 1.
Take me number 1.
They don't care what the team is.
He wants to go number 1 to be able to tell them no.
How cool is it for Alex Smith to tell the world that he was the number 1 overall pick in the draft?
Imagine that. Yeah, it's cool. I was the number 1 overall draft.
You think Aaron Rodgers brags about being number 28?
Oh, boy. Speaking of guys who are sweating on draft day. That was like one of my favorite green room things.
Will Levis went in the second round.
Oh, yeah.
That?
That's the thing is when the NFL, when they invite you to the combine and you don't get picked, don't get the cameras in my face. You guys invited me here, man. But I don't know why it's so important for him to go number 1. That's not a great fit for him in my mind. Go to Tennessee? Come on. No.
Well, Sly's always on here, and when he is, we talk about how important it is where you go, not when you're picked.
Right.
You need to find the right organization, the right fit where you can be successful.
Exactly right.
Look at the Georgia tight end, Brock Bowers, that went to the Raiders.
Yeah.
They had nobody else to throw the ball to. And the dude set records.
Yeah.
Did they win? No, they were a bad football team. But Brock Bowers was able to go to a place where he was going to be able to shine. It worked out for him. And that's now that Tom Brady's involved, I hate to say this as a Broncos fan, but I think the Raiders will get it together here more so than they have. But sometimes it's more about where you go than when you're picked and when you're drafted. Just ask Zach Wilson.
Is he allowed to call Raiders games, by the way, if they're on TV? Tom Brady?
I assume so.
That seems so weird.
He works for Fox.
I know.
He does NFC games for the most part.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, it's weird.
It is.
Abdul Carter, by the way, he's the guy who's actually a lot of more people are saying is going to be picked number 1 overall by the Titans. Doctors and teams even advised him not to have foot surgery. That seems weird. But, whatever. If they say don't do it, great. If they say do it, great. Draft me number 1 overall.
Yeah.
If you're him, that's it. You want to be the number 1 overall pick when you're that edge rusher. You could go to any team in this league, and when you're an edge rusher and you are phenomenal, football's a team sport, but if you're an edge rusher, you can be a one-man show. That is one of the
Myles Garrett and Brooklyn Cleveland.
Right. And that's one of the places you can go. That's one of the positions you can play and show off to everybody. You think about guys who went to places like New York when Zach Wilson was the quarterback there. Who was it was Garrett Wilson? He was super pissed about the role he was playing and not getting the ball enough and blah, blah, blah. When you're relying on other people to make the plays for you and you're on the offensive side of the ball with not a very good offensive team.
Yeah.
If you're an edge rusher, even if your defense isn't that great, if you're great, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. The NFL is considering changes to the in-season overtime rules. And I think at this point you should probably just move on to what you do in the why is it that we have different rules for the offseason versus the regular season? You know why? Because the the postseason overtime rules are better.
Yeah.
It's a better situation. You give both teams the opportunity to score a touchdown. You need to go to that model in the regular season. It's a better system in the playoffs because you feel like it's a little bit more fair. That's what needs to be the overtime rules for the NFL in the regular season as well. So they're going to look at that and they're going to kind of mull it over, but they're so worried about games going long. Wouldn't the league be more worried about the games getting over with and being controversial with the ending? Think about how dumb it was. As soon as you'd win the coin toss, you would usually just win overtime. Go down, go 38 yards, kick a field goal. Great. Unless you're my guy from the Seattle Seahawks. Who was it? Was it Hasselbeck who said that? We're going to take the ball, we're going to score.
It was Hasselbeck, yes.
We're going to take the ball, we're going to score. Thanks a lot, dude. Throws a pick six immediately.
Go Pack, go.
So, anyway, I'm just saying, change the overtime rules to whatever the thing is that's going to be the best outcome for us as fans.
Agreed.
Not the best thing that's going to speed up the television product.
Right.
In my mind, it's going to be on either way. If it's a 3-hour and 14-minute game, if it's a 3-hour game, I'm going to watch it either way. So
has anyone that watches the NFL ever complained about overtime? Meaning extra football, getting a chance to watch more games, compelling finishes? No.
The problem is that, and the reason that the NFL has that overtime rule the way it is now, I mean, playoff games have to end. The problem is that the overtime rule now, you can end in a tie, and I hate that. Yeah. So
agree.
They have to be addressed. They don't know if they want to have the overtime end in a tie at all in the future, but they're still looking at it. There's no place for a tie in football. It just doesn't go anywhere. There's no points that are accumulated. It's not a tiebreaker.
It makes no sense.
It doesn't make any sense. Don't do it. All right. What else? Oh, by the way,
some media wars.
I didn't really understand what was going on here. So Jordan Schultz, who covers the NFL, and Ian Rappaport, who, say it with me, covers the NFL. They're both in Indianapolis, of course, for the scouting combine. So they're the JW Marriott at a Starbucks. Very appropriate, considering that Jordan Schultz's dad was the former CEO of Starbucks. Does he get him free, do you think?
I'm sure he's got lifetime coffee.
I don't know.
He's got
but apparently, Schultz accosted Ian Rappaport. The incident was apparently this back and forth when there was a tweet that was sent about a, quote, big-time media confrontation between two NFL newsbreakers. The tweet added to the idea of, well, we didn't know what happened, and so the Starbucks part is a weird thing, right?
Yeah.
Because your dad was the former CEO of
sure
Starbucks, and you're fighting in there.
His dad's proud that he got in a fight in one of his Starbucks.
Look, media fighting, unless it was an actual physical because look, it's apparently we're told that Rappaport was talking to an agent. Schultz approached and said, "We need to talk." Rappaport said, "We don't need to talk," and then Schultz made an accusation to Rappaport, making accusations that were quote unquote unfounded. The two men were essentially face to face, yelling at one another. "If you have anything to say to me, say it to my blanking face," Schultz said. "If this continues, we're going to have a blanking problem," also said Schultz. Rappaport then asked Schultz to step back.
Wow.
All of this happening in the shadow of the weird Starbucks mermaid in the background. This is so weird.
I want his punches thrown. This is
I know.
We got to take this to another level.
No, it's the worst because this doesn't help us media types with the image that, like, you know, some chubby dudes getting in front of each other and going, "No, you say it. Well, you're going to have a problem if you keep addressing me like this. No, you're going to have a problem. I don't like how you reported that story." Like, what are they fighting about? Get over it. All right.
When you're working the media, you never want to become the story.
No.
And Jordan Schultz and Ian Rappaport crossed that line.
Sounds like Jordan Schultz is the bigger problem in all this. I don't know. He's the one who's coming up interrupting conversations. Maybe
Doesn't Ian Rappaport seem really smug, though?
Yeah. I mean, they all do. If you're all pretending to be like the NFL's version of Woj, then yeah. I mean, that's what's really happening here, right?
Yeah.
I love the fight. But so the media fight, the NFL media fight, come on. It's the most exciting the Combine's been in years. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We've got more to go. We've got our best and worst getting you ready for Utah Hockey Club coming up. Yeah, Carol Vamelka is going to get the start in net tonight. We're going to have to see some game time decisions for some of the guys starting in the front end for this Utah Hockey Club. So we'll give you a little bit more of that, and we'll give you our best and worst next. So stay right here, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Wrapping up the hour with our picks for the best and worst moments on today's show. As JJ and Alex want to hear your best and worst of the day.
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. The final segment of the day as we get you ready for Utah Hockey Club versus the Minnesota Wild coming up at the top of the hour. The puck will drop at 7 over at Delta Center. It's going to be a fun one. We'll see what this team has been doing the last couple of days to get themselves ready here. Yes, but
they've been feeding the baby.
They've been feeding that baby. Brought to you by this final segment. Brought to you by the family of Doug Smith dealerships. And, of course, now adding Mitsubishi to the family down there in American Fork. Nobody knows cars like Doug. JJ, the worst of the day is that Cam Scadaboo is being sued by a former teammate because of a golf cart accident they had down there at Arizona State. Cam Scadaboo, before his career's even started.
If you watch Cam Scadaboo crash into linebackers, you had to know he'd drive a golf cart much the same way.
So he's suing Cam Scadaboo and the University of Arizona State for $300,000. Carol Vamelka, Veggie's going to get the start in the net tonight, and game time decisions for 3 of the forwards of this Utah Hockey Club. So we're going to make way for the Utah Hockey Club broadcast and get you ready right here. We will be back again tomorrow for more of JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.